times, and I'll just edit bits as well, but the number of times at the end of a call with someone, you go, damn, should have recorded that. That was really good. So,
Yeah.
yeah. But look, it's great to finally meet you. I've like listened to some of your podcasts, and I really enjoyed it. Yeah. No, they've been
Well,
really
I'm
good.
embarrassed by that then.
No, you shouldn't be. My goodness. And actually, you do it on your own, don't you? Pretty much just talking on your own, which I've never tried. That's pretty good.
Yeah, because I did that because I had so many troubles with other people. And I consider myself someone that's kind of a lone wolf. I mean, I can work in teams if I need to, obviously, but I feel more comfortable just being in working on my own and taking control of everything. And what I found was I had a lot of problems because I'd reach out to people and either it'd take me 40 people to get one person to say yes. And then once I got down to that level, it was trying to get that person nailed down to a time.
Right.
And they would agree to that time and then they wouldn't show up or they would be late. And then even the ones that were successful, I would have some kind of tech problem. Like either my kids were playing Xbox upstairs and hogging up all the bandwidth, or they had a tech problem, or I was using Skype and for some reason the Skype recorder blitzed out or something. And there was just always these problems. And then it was the whole question of, well, what are the questions that I'm going to ask and trying to get that. So I thought, you know what, it just seems like it's a lot easier if I just free form talk on the podcast, because I hated to write because I'm terrible with grammar and spelling. And, you know, people tell you, oh, you need to keep, less is more for writing. And I'm like, well, what's the less? So it was just, easier to talk.
Yeah.
And I thought, well, I'm just going to ramble on and talk in these podcasts. And if they do well and people listen to them, that's great. But it's kind of what worked for me.
Cool. Yeah, I like that. I mean, I must admit, I've had chats. I have chats with people all the time, every week, and I just do it at the drop of a hat. It's probably my Achilles heel. I should be working. Yeah. And I'm like, oh, well, tell you what, let's jump on a call. And I chat, and 2 hours later, we're like, oh, damn it, I haven't done any of my work. And then, yeah, somebody just said, you should be recording these. I'm like, yeah, actually. But I haven't even put it on iTunes or anything. I just record them. Yeah. I don't edit them. I just shove them on SoundCloud. And if people listen, great. But I'm doing them anyway. It's just what I do anyway. So, like, sure. For me, yeah, if anything, mine is an accidental podcast. It's an accident. I just happen to be recording chats I have anyway. Something that did work really well for me is recently, maybe 2 months ago or a month ago, I put up Calendly. Calendly, where you can have a calendar and people can book in. It just gets rid of that ping pong of like, are you free then? I did that with yourself because I was trying to get an earlier, the right time with you. But normally it's like the 10 o'clock in the evening or 11 o'clock. And that just made life a lot easier. And also it spreads them out because sometimes I'd have 2 or 3 in a day and I'd be like punch drunk by the end of it.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. The problem with me, I thought about using a system like that where people can pick a time and then I can meet with them. And the problem with me is I never go back and look at it. And even if it sends me an email that says, hey, such and such signed up for a time, like I end up losing that email. So I have to like write everything down on pen and paper because the pad of paper is always in front of me at my desk. So it's like the only thing I look at. I don't even look at email.
Yeah. My moleskin. Yeah. I always have my moleskin, my nice little pen. I always have it. I take it everywhere. What's really interesting? You've already said it. Like you're a bit of a lone wolf. I think I am as well. Even though I'm happy chatting to people. You could shove me up doing a best man speech, or I'm actually buzzing if I just get on in front of people to flip chart and 20 people or whatever. That's me. I come off. I get a load of energy, come off. But when I'm in a group of people and there's a lot of chatting, my brain just can't comprehend so many conversations all at the same time. I just want to chat one-on-one with somebody if I'm going to chat. Yeah. But when there's too many, I'm always like, oh, that guy's not talking much. Let me try and draw them into the conversation. I wonder, I'm just like, I'm thinking about other people too much. But one of the ones that I really liked, when maybe your podcast or maybe you wrote it somewhere, you said something that you actually still do the coding. Yeah. Which I thought, it was almost like you gave me permission to keep doing the coding. because everyone's like, oh, you need to get away from coalface and be biz dev and salesperson and blah, blah, blah. I'm like,
Yeah.
no, I actually like that bit. There's a bit that I like. I like writing a bit of code and doing stuff in Excel. I like generating CSV files and uploading them into Google Ads and then downloading it. And that's me having fun, you
Oh
know?
yeah,
Um, so,
definitely.
so I think, yeah, so that was like, honestly, that's the bit that gave me a bit of a, oh, hold on. That's all right. It's all right if I do that and ignore the E-Myth and all these other books that say you have to get away from the coalface. And in fact, that bit where you need to do such and such, that's become a red flag for me. Whenever somebody says you need to
Yeah.
do something, I'm like, oh, really? Do you need to? I was like, yeah, no. So, yeah, so thanks for that. It's
Yeah,
allowed me to
no
keep
problem.
going.
Yeah, well, as I got older, I realized, and I'm sure everybody experiences this as they get older. You hear everything that your parents told you, that your community and society, your teachers, your government told you, and then, at least for me, I don't know about all people, but I know at least for me, I got to a certain point where I just questioned it. I mean, I had always actually questioned it, but for a large part of my life, I had to do what they said. Like when I was in school, I had to act a certain way and say yes, teacher. And then when I had my first job, like you've got to be respectful to the employer. Not saying that you shouldn't be or that I didn't want to be, but there were certain rules, or else you got punished for it. And at some point when I became an entrepreneur, even though I had always questioned this, when I got to be an entrepreneur, I was like, I don't have to fit certain rules anymore. I don't have to be nice to my boss to get this paycheck. And I don't have to act a certain way to my neighbor because he's maybe my coworker, or he goes to the same church as me, or just whatever. So it really allowed me to not only re-question a lot of things, but I'm really good at reading between the lines and listening to what people are not talking about when they do tell you that you need to do this and need to do that. Well, what are they not saying, and what are the
Yeah.
what ifs to that? And when I became an entrepreneur, it really allowed me to explore that and look into that. And I was like, I want to be a marketer and I want to do pay per click, but I've got this skill set in coding, and I want to code out things. And specifically, I want to code out things that have to do with digital marketing, whether it's SEO stuff or pay per click stuff. Um, you know, I, I can give it to a VA or I can give it to an employee. And I've done that before. And I've always been unhappy with it. And there's a lot of people that would come back and tell me, well, if they can do it 80% as good as you, that's valuable. And I'm like, well, they're doing it at 80%, but they're taking 2 or 3 times longer than me. And it's not really what I want at the end. And I could probably code this in a day that's taking them a week to do, because either I'm explaining it to them wrong or they don't understand it. And, going in and coding and letting myself have that permission to not listen to the gurus and not listen to the book writers really changed my life, because I'm able to turn things around a lot faster and get it done my way. Kind of like the Frank Sinatra song, I did it my way.
Yeah.
I didn't have to listen to people. And that was very empowering, and kind of like lifted a boulder off of me to have that pressure to kind of do what people told me were best practices. Because sometimes if you do the things that don't scale, that's where you get the quality and you get the value. And then once you do that, then you find a way to scale it afterward. But being able to do it when it doesn't scale at first, I think has changed a lot for me.
Oh my goodness, yeah, totally. You're preaching to the converted, like doing
Yeah.
things that don't scale. I love that phrase. I think it's Paul Graham might have said that from Y Combinator, and I just like, oh my God, that's what I've been doing. I chat to
Yeah.
people one on one. I can't scale that, but by chatting, I've got a kind of different business from yours, even though we've got a similar skill set, I suppose. You're doing the SEO, I do pay per click, paid search. Um, I'm almost like an agency at the minute. I'm trying not to be, but I chat to people one on one. I can't really scale that. I suppose I could record it and post it and do stuff with it. But if I got someone, I've tried getting other people to do the sales part, but I don't. They're not managing expectations. They're not really finding out from the business owner. Just like one little insight, the business owner could say one thing, and I'm like, oh wow, that just reminds me of something. And I've got a whole series of stories from chatting to other business owners. And then if I'm the guy who then translates that business requirement into the actual campaigns. And then the campaigns, because they don't work straight out of the box, it's kind of something's not going to work. But you're looking at the data, and then you go, oh, hold on, might be the angle that I should take, and rebuild it, and finally get something. All the while you're talking to the business owner. I found when I tried to outsource that and get an AdWords guy to do the builds and get someone else to do the sales, like, I had no idea what was going on.
Yeah.
And some people say, yeah, but that's okay, you're the business owner, you shouldn't. But actually, it's my little extra bit. It's not, the 80-20, I think the bit that's missing is the insight. I've got the insights that my AdWords guy was never going to get, because he doesn't have like my experience, and then he's not talking to the business owner. So there's a lot of lost in between. So the fact that I'm doing the builds, then analyzing it all, and I've got the IT, 15 years of IT, so I can build campaigns quick and load them up, and then I can download the data and analyze it in ways that, like, I've trained people up in AdWords, but they don't have the 15 years of IT, so they don't see the pivot tables in Excel and, move it this way and that and spot something and that one little thing. And then you just speak to business and, by the way, and they go, oh, no. Just all you need is that one little insight. And then you can create a completely new set of campaigns, and that's what works. So I had heard a phrase that I really liked was, you can't outsource passion and insight. So like when you're at the coalface writing the code, and something's not working, by the time you finally solve it, that might be like, oh my goodness, hold on. That might be a completely different new business idea for you, just because you've solved something that was like wrecking your head for a while,
Exactly.
And if someone else did that, then you wouldn't get that insight.
Yeah, because with pay-per-click, like with Google AdWords, for an example, and you probably know this. I know a lot of people won't know this though, but there's, through the evolution, because I've actually been buying pay-per-click since before AdWords. I was buying it on GoTo back in '99, and then that later turned into Overture, and then Yahoo, and then AdWords came out, and I was actually buying ads on AdWords when you had to do an insertion order. It wasn't self-serve yet, and so I've been able to watch how their system works. Whether it's algorithms with SEO or with how their pay-per-click platform works. And I had watched over time and noticed that they were adding all these features, and these features as letting them, when you pick the ad rotation, to let them do it based on conversions or most clicks. And then they've got the CPA targeting instead of the EPC or CPC targeting, or you can do it on return on ad spend. But basically, it's growing to where they're taking options away from you, totally, and taking data away from you, and basically you're giving up that information to them so that they can intelligently, or at least they say intelligently, make the decision for you on what's going to be the best conversion. But like people like me and that when you give them that type of data, you miss out on insights. You're basically putting faith into them. And I know at one point I was looking at those options and I was using them, and I was noticing that I would get worse performance. Or we would get a Google rep and they would fly in and take us to an expensive restaurant and feed us, and they'd be at the office for 2 or 3 days. And they would suggest all of these changes that we needed to do, and some of the ones we did, and it cost us thousands and thousands of dollars. It was just horrible advice. But just going back to coding and knowing those insights, at one point I actually figured out, well, if I pull down all of this Excel data out of AdWords and I do it by day, I can figure out per keyword, what the best ranking position should be. A lot of people think, well, I'm just going to spend a lot of money to be first, or I'm going to spend very little, little money and see what I can get. And I was able to do some analytics through this data. And typically for most of the keywords for one client, I realized that being in position 3 was the most profitable position that they could be into. So I would just build AdWords scripts and AdWords rules that would run every day that said, well, if the average position yesterday was above third, bid less. If it was below third, bid more. And that worked out great for that client. But then when I went to another client, their average position was a little different. And sometimes you can do that time of day. Like I was doing a lot of work for a nursing program, and I found out that the nursing colleges, the RNs that were looking to be BSNs, so getting a bachelor's of nursing, they converted better basically at the end of the day or middle of the night. So somewhere between 10 p.m. and say 4 a.m. And it was drastically different than any other college degree seeker. So like business or marketing or communications, that all did well during the day, but these nursing students were all at night. And it took me a long time to realize this. So I sat in on some of the calls for these lead degree programs. And a lot of these work third shift. You know, they just work these horrible hours. And
Yeah.
because they work these horrible hours, they wanted a better degree so that they could pick their own hours. And that's just data that, you know, once we give it up to Google, or we don't have that, you know, insight because we're going in and coding, or we're going in and looking, or we're going in the phone calls, that me and you would never have if we didn't do it. So if we left it to somebody else, a junior or to a VA, you know, that's missed opportunity. So yeah, I'm definitely with that. If you can get into it and touch it and be in the trenches, that makes you better and have that insight.
Yeah. Yeah, totally. I mean, it's the same as, hold on. Yeah, you froze a sec, so I was just checking. Yeah, it's the same as I don't have the ad setting in a campaign to optimize the ads. I just want it to rotate evenly, and I don't adhere to Google's suggestion of like you need 5 ads per ad group, or I just have 1 ad per ad group, but I have like loads of ad groups. I have like more than other people normally, like, unless you other people doing exactly the same thing, going really long tail. And I have a really specific ad because I've coded it so that the keyword is in the ad, in the headline. Like it's all really well done. And I have 1 ad. And if I decide to do some split testing, I will try and create another version of the ad, but I'll roll it out to all 1,000 ad groups in that campaign or something. And then later on, I will analyze it. But like and then work out which style of ad works better. Is it like Dublin plumbers or plumbers Dublin? Which, and then I
Yeah.
roll that out for the whole campaign. But I would have a note on the campaign in the campaign name that I'm split testing. The campaign says split testing. So I know that in that campaign, I'm split testing because I want that learning of whether people like want a cheap wedding ring more than they want, an affordable wedding ring or like a custom wedding ring or whatever. Like if I put 5 in, I don't want Google just to pick the best and let it and the others die. I want to know how much better than the others it is, and I want control and go, well, hold on, cheap wedding rings is really bad. Don't use the word cheap anywhere in the website. Affordable is pretty good.
Sure.
Custom, yeah, custom is like so if I let Google do that, I wouldn't know that cheap is a really bad word to use on the whole website. Just that little
Yeah.
insight. So yeah, totally. I'm like, and the funny thing is, whenever I get speaking to Google reps, they're always telling me off like, oh, you need more keywords per ad group, or you need more
Yeah.
ads per ad group. I'm like, okay, yeah, okay. But I actually do want to hear what they have to say because that's exactly what they're telling everyone else. If they're telling everyone else that, then almost by default, if I do the opposite, I'll be doing not necessarily better, but I'll be getting a different result from everyone else. And I'd like to,
Yeah.
and often it is better. I'm not saying it is all the time, but I remember I was on a course recently and a guy, it was funny. I thought it was supposed to be a social media course, like, Facebook and Instagram, blah, and I'm rubbish at that. So I thought I'd go send myself on it. Turns out the first half of the course was Google Ads. I was like, oh no, okay, right.
Oh.
So I just had to sit there and, I'd introduce me, oh, yeah, I do Google Ads. And then I just sort of smiled at the guy the whole way through. So he didn't feel like, he was somebody sitting there criticizing or anything. But he was saying, look, I think he was saying Google knows better than me how to run this stuff. So I'm going to go with all their defaults. And
Oh, wow.
I was like, oh no. And I just had to sit there. And then he got to one of them and he was like, right, so the location settings, just leave it on the default. And I'm like, I might I've probably want to change that one so that it's only the people in your location. Because if you're a plumber in Dublin, you run ads for plumbers Dublin and you think you're targeting Ireland, but actually there's 4 Dublins in the US, then the ad's going to show over there and you're going to be bleeding money and you're not even going to know. And he was like, he just, it just, anyway, just like, but
Yeah, that one thing that you mentioned, I've been carrying that in the back of my head while you've been talking. That that one setting is how I generally win all. I'll maybe proposition them to do an audit, or somebody will say, "Hey, can you tell me what's wrong?" And I'll log into their account, and probably the first two things I look at, one of those is that location setting, because every single person just leaves it to default.
yeah,
And then I bring that report up and I'm just like, hey, you're paying money for somebody in Nigeria to click your ad. You're paying money for somebody in another city that you don't have an office in to click your ad. And you just wasted all of this money. And just that one setting almost makes me win all of my clients over.
yeah.
Because, yeah, nobody looks into it. No, nobody experiments, and people are just going off the general default Google suggestions.
Yeah, well, I actually think that's a really sneaky setting, that one. I really don't like it. It's just I don't trust Google at all as far as I can throw them. For that one, for anyone listening who doesn't know, it basically you set your campaign and say, I want this campaign to target Ireland. Then you run an ad. No, okay. Then the next setting, which is hidden, you have to click on advanced location settings.
Yeah.
Then you have to change it to say, I want my ads to show in the location I said I want them to show in. That's basically what you're saying. It's like, because Google's going to go, you know what? I know you said Ireland, but actually, I think you meant Nigeria or India. You're like, no.
Yeah.
And I've seen at least 5% bleed of like, there's names of
Yeah.
cities in India that are the same as in the UK, and like, yeah. And by the way, that's very much what I do as well. You go into an account, and often I do this. Somebody will contact me, Andy, can I have a look? I've got a problem with my account. I'm like, oh, mate, yeah, I love having a look at the account. I can look over your shoulder. I don't even
Sure.
have to log in. Just open the screen and I talk them through, look, rearrange these columns. I need to see your impressions share and your average position isn't there. Why Google's got rid of that, I don't know. But it's just hiding stuff from people, from Joe Blogs, so they can't see what's going on. And then I'll be, right, let's have a look at your search terms. And like, what's the search term? And you go, uh-oh. And then you just do what you've just done. You just show them their bleeding neck. Look, blood is pumping out of your neck and you don't even know it. This is why you're losing money. Like one of the ones, I think somebody in the Fastlane forum, they were doing house cleaning. I said, right, okay, so snow removal. You don't do snow removal. No, 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 no. Well, you just spent 20 quid last month on snow removal. And that's enough for
All
them to
those
go,
negative words. Yeah.
yeah, but it's just the wrong match type or too much broad and all that stuff. I know we're getting geeky, but I think the main thing is that if you use somebody's defaults, then you're at their mercy. And God, they're just something I saw yesterday looking at somebody's account. Exact match keyword. It was something like, oh, I can't remember. I didn't make a note of it. Forklift truck training course. And the search term that came through was like forklift license course or something, and it wasn't the same. And I was like, but that's exact match. That's an exact match keyword, and the search term is actually different. Didn't have training, it had license. And to me, they're very, very different search terms. Like they're not maybe not looking for the same thing, but certainly the ad would run different. So Google's
Yeah.
they're just bit by bit eroding it. They would like a keywordless world where you just enter your credit card details and your website, and that's it.
Yeah.
So they can,
Yeah, well, that's why I like going in and doing it, because I learned that, and I learned the reasons why these things are happening and the history behind it. Like them taking away the ability for me to take out mobile websites with the AdSense for mobile.com for the display
oh yeah,
campaigns trick.
yeah,
And but that's why I code. And that's why I do these things that don't scale, because in other areas of my life, say like with a program I'm coding, maybe I'm the marketer, maybe I'm the business owner, but when something about my software or the script or the product that I'm selling isn't working correctly, or somebody sends in a support ticket and I haven't seen my keywords run for today, or this report isn't. If I had let somebody else code that, which a lot of times I do, I've got a partner that codes a lot of things. I don't know what he's coded. He's a very competent coder, There's plenty of code out there, but now I have to go to him and say, hey, this report isn't working, or we've got a customer complaining, and then there's back and forth. Then he has to have time to go in and investigate that and look into it. Whereas if I have coded it myself, I can answer that customer right then and there, that problem solved with, or I have a more acute understanding of how it's running, so that if I do something in the future, like maybe if I change proxy providers because part of our software uses proxies, I'm going to know intimately how that change is going to affect certain parts of our code, or maybe it delays running. There's just so much more that you gain from it, knowing it. I mean, I even still do my own taxes, and I know plenty of people on the Fastlane forum would probably laugh at that. I do have an accountant. I do have a bookkeeper, but that's not good enough for me because I was trying to find the right accountant and the right bookkeeper. And there's just things that don't get brought up. And if I don't ask those questions, then they're not just going to answer or give me advice that I'm wishing I would know. Like part of that might be resettlement grants. If I don't know that that's something that can affect my taxes, I don't know to ask that to my booker, and they don't know to just tell me that. I even still write down my own taxes. And I'm sorry, do my own bookkeeping on a paper ledger. There's threads on the Fastlane forum about using QuickBooks or using automation, but I still do it on paper, and then I send it to my bookkeeper and she checks it, and then my accountant checks it. But I want to know that stuff, so I still do it.
That's interesting. Yeah, because I'm one of the people who's got rid of bookkeeping because I found that every 3 months when I was supposed to hand in my VAT and all the, pay.
Oh, yeah.
It was always the last thing. It was always a last minute, late at night thing. And it went on for years, me doing it, because one of my mates had said, Andy, if you're the business owner, you need to do the bookkeeping. So I was doing it. And then but I don't understand why, because like I'm an Excel maths kind of dude, but it was just, for some reason, it just killed me. But then when I handed it off to my accountant, because I've always had an accountant since I've been in business 20 years. Like I've always had an accountant. I handed the bookkeeping to them, and oh my God, it was like, just like a weight off my shoulders. Like, so everyone's different, but for me, some people had said, you need to do your bookkeeping if you're going to be a business owner. You need to have your finger on every pulse. And I was like, okay, that makes sense. And then it just killed me. And something I've learned as I got older is just to observe where my energy goes up and down. What do I tend to do if I'm knee deep in an Excel spreadsheet trying to, figure out there's something with the data, and then something pops up on Skype where somebody's like, Andy, I've got a problem with my account. Do you fancy having a look? I do find I tend to do that. And like jump out of Excel and go do that, because it's this is interesting. I wonder what the problem is. Like, and then and I might end up doing exactly the same thing, downloading all the data, going through it in Excel. I don't know why, but so if I don't get something done and I'm procrastinating on something, I figure because I do things, I'm not like lazy, that there's some reason why I'm not doing it. And I try and figure out what that reason is. It's like, maybe it's just not in my wheelhouse and I shouldn't be doing it in the first place. Or what's often is like my gut knows that actually if I go down that route, it's not actually going to be a good route for me. There's maybe an opportunity to come in, an agency has got blah, 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 and they might have potentially loads of clients and whatnot, but something in my gut doesn't like something about it. And I've learned to just trust it and go, why am I procrastinating? I don't call it procrastinating. Why am I putting that? There's an Irish phrase. I'm an Englishman living in Ireland. There's a great phrase. They call it putting it on the long finger. It's like it's on the long finger. It's the last thing you're going to do. So it's just all the benefits of getting older and knowing yourself, I suppose.
Sure. Yeah. I procrastinate too, and I know you said that you didn't procrastinate on everything, but there's certain things that you'll procrastinate on, and then you'll ask yourself why. And I used to do that too. And I used to think, well, maybe it's because I don't like it. Maybe because I don't know to get, these are all like the scripts, just invisible scripts for why I might be procrastinating. But I actually took some personality tests. I did pretty extensively. I took the test. I took multiple different tests, and I took each one of those tests multiple times because I told myself taking the test one time could be influenced by just my mood at that particular point in of the day or of the week. So this was like a long, drawn out process. And even after I completed it, I still come across research, every now and then that still kind of validates this. But like, I'm a natural procrastinator on everything. So it's not just things like, or things that I feel that I don't have the information for. Like, I procrastinate on everything. And I thought, man, this like what luck? I mean, that's just failure ever that you might be somebody that just naturally procrastinates. But I found out that generally happens with.
Oh, hold on. I'm going to turn off my video. I'm lagging a little bit. I lost you a bit. Hold on. This is really interesting. I've never heard of somebody who naturally procrastinates on everything.
I'm going to stop my video
There
too.
you go.
Make
Yeah,
sure.
yeah,
All right. So, what the results came out to be, okay, so like on the Meigs Briers, which I might have that backwards, but I was the INTJ. And then on the Enneagram test, which is a separate test, I was a 5W. And those letters and words really don't mean anything, just me spouting those out. But what came out of it was, somebody that's very original, very introvert, but also a fascinator in just about everything. And I thought, gee, I'm a procrastinator, so I'm going to be a loser my whole life. But really, the procrastination helps because somebody, at least through the test and through other research I've done over the years, like that's some of the best ideas of creative you're going to have just pop out immediately, like say the shower or you're on the toilet or you're doing something else. It just doesn't come immediately within that split second. It's actually something that's loaded inside of you. So it's probably something that you started having an idea of maybe a couple months ago, or a couple days ago, or even a couple hours ago. And you kind of procrastinate on it and push it to the back of your mind. And you go throughout your day or your week or through your other projects. And then maybe later it comes back again, it's laid in the back of your mind. Your mind worked on it. It's almost like how they say when you're asleep, your brain to rework itself during the sleep sense of your day. That's what I'm finding out that the procrastinate is that I can think about something and not have to act on it and put it to the back of my mind. And then maybe a week or two later, it'll come back up and need a better idea because I've somehow added more to it, procrastinating on it and working on it. My mind has actually, and the next it pops in my head, now I have the solution to something that maybe I didn't have a solution to a week ago. I haven't even actively thought on it. So I procrastinate in a lot of things and wait till the last minute, even about something, or maybe it's a deadline that's due. I've known about this thing all day that I had it at, 9 p.m., but now it's 8:50 and I'm pulling through it. And so I really think of it as almost a gift now. Then, one second, sorry. So, I kind of think that the procrastination is actually more of a gift because I can sit on something and let it percolate, end up being a better solution or a better outcome later.
That's so funny because I think that's exactly how I work, actually. I noticed something when I was studying for a maths degree back when I was 21. It was a finals, and I did no work. It killed me off university. It was just horrible. Go in, some bloke's going to write on the board, you write it down. Just photocopy it and give it to me if that's all you're going to do. But
Oh yeah.
so I did 2 weeks work each year, and I would the days between exams, I'd figure out, I'd just go and learn whatever I needed to do to pass the exam. And I remember one night, the exam in the morning, and I could not for the life of me figure out this particular question. I had the question and the answer, and I couldn't work out how you solved it. And I was like, it was getting late and I was starting to panic. And I had two choices. One was to stay up later and try and work on it, or go to bed and get up early and try and work on it early. And I thought, well, if I actually went to bed now and tried to sleep, I wouldn't be able to because we were worrying about it. So I stayed up trying to figure it out. And then I just went, I give up. I literally give up. This is too late. I cannot figure it out. I'm going to go in and just answer my 3 questions out of 8, and I'm probably going to fail, whatever. I woke up in the morning, I looked at it, and I went, oh my God, it's so simple.
Yeah.
I just woke up and understood it. That was like, oh my, that's just amazing. It was worrying in my head when I was asleep for 6 hours or 5 hours or whatever it was. And it just went round and round and round and round. And I woke up and it was clear as day. And I couldn't for the life of me figure out why I couldn't understand it the night before. And that was quite amazing. And then the other thing that you've just said, yeah, we were due to chat at 9 o'clock. It was only like 10 minutes before. I'm like, oh, okay, I better go and check where my computer's working and then send you the link. I do that all the time. 10 minutes. If I'm going to like prepare a call with somebody, if I'm due a call with a prospect, 10 minutes is all I'm going to give myself, because then all of a sudden I'm on the case. It gets me like I'm going at 100 mile an hour, and my brain is now working and I'm focused. Like, what were all those emails? What did he say? And I scan through quickly and I don't get distracted by all the little bits of too much detail. And then I get on the call. And also I prefer being on the call, asking questions to find out what's going on. And yeah, so I think another one for me, I'll talk about some personality tests I did as well, because it backed up this observation I had. Was somebody asked me to do a presentation to the team of 35 AdWords specialists. And I was like, okay.
Oh,
And I was like, right, cool. So 5 minutes before, or maybe 10 minutes, just went into a room with a piece of paper and scribbled out some stuff. And then I came out without the piece of paper and pencil. And then I just got the flip chart up and I scribbled away and chatted for supposedly 15 minutes, but it ended up being half an hour. And that was it. It was great. And I enjoyed that. And that's how I work. In another company, they asked me to do a presentation and make it a PowerPoint. And they gave me like a week to do it. And I just didn't get anything done. It just did not suit the way I worked. And I just wanted to bail out of it. And I ended up not doing a PowerPoint and just standing there and winging it, because that's the way my brain, whatever, that's my personality. And I since did some personality tests, and they said that the environment I shouldn't be in is a scripted environment and, kind of design and rearranging pixels or whatever. And actually I'm best live and just impromptu and all that kind of stuff. And I was like, oh my God, yeah, that's so true. Now that I think about it and look back.
yeah.
And then also my job for 10 years, I was 15 years IT, sort of a systems analyst, then a Unix systems administrator. You're doing lots of corn shell scripting, then an Oracle DBA, production Oracle DBA, keeping systems running, like all backup and recovery and monitoring and alerting, all that kind of palaver. Not the more exciting development stuff, but it's enough coding. But that environment is so much about creating SOPs and testing everything to death before you apply anything to production. And that is exactly the environment that this testing told me I shouldn't be in. So I was like, oh my God, I spent 15 years doing exactly the wrong kind of work for me. And in fact, it even said you should be leading a team and going out there and doing your thing. And people in the team are like, what the heck, how did you manage that? Or how did you pull that rabbit out of the hat and all that kind of stuff? And once I did that, it just, again, well, actually, it was more than it gave me permission to go off and be myself. It actually just highlighted that, you know what, all those things that, when you do a presentation, you do better when you've only got 5 minutes to prepare. It just suddenly made sense.
Yeah. Yeah. And there's for me at least, now I don't know about anybody else, there's almost like this adrenaline rush.
Yep.
And I've never watched the movie The Limitless Pill, but I hear other people talk about it and I see memes about it where some guy takes some pill and his brain is super smart now. But I don't know if you've seen those memes, but it's almost like, I've known that I've had to do something all day or even all week, and now it's due and it doesn't matter what it is, the size of the project. Just knowing that now I only have an hour, it's
Yeah.
on this super adrenaline charged competition to see if I can actually get it done within this hour now. And I tell you what, even if I'm just writing a blog article or I'm coding a script or I'm just doing a mundane task in that hour where the deadline hits, I'm pushing out the best work possible. Like just it just goes on mode, and I write this beautiful article out. It's the best article I've ever written. But if I would have took all day to write that article, I would have rewrote it 15 times probably. Or if it was a snippet of code, or if it was I've got a tree that fell down. If I would have 8 a.m. in the morning, it would have took me all day to cut the tree down in sections. But if I've got an hour, I'm a master with that chainsaw and axe, and it's completely done within that 1 hour time frame. But it's just like this charge and this rush, and I do because a lot challenge to mentally to get it than if I had 8 hours to do it.
Yeah, I do exactly the same, actually. Exactly the same. And it was my mates at university, one of the guys pointed it out. Like I only knew the guys who were on the back row of the lecture theatre. I knew
Oh
every
yeah,
single one of them, and I didn't know any of the other guys. Or it was, and actually, it was pretty much all guys. Sorry, because it was maths, and it was just at the time it was just all guys, and I knew all the dossers and messers and everyone last one, and none of the other people. And I was leaving everything to the last minute, and people were coming into my room. Andy, have you studied for formal languages in automata? And I'm like, what? What is that? Am I doing that one? And they'd go away happy because there's somebody worse than them who's like they're stuck on the third lecture or something. I haven't even figured it. I don't even know that I'm doing that exam. But one of my mates actually then said, Andy, you'll be all right because you're leaving it to the last minute for you, and then you'll know when you need to start, and then you'll do it. And I do the same thing. Like if it's not just that. It's more fun when you've got the adrenaline rush and you're trying to get it done for the deadline and making that a game to get it done before you have to leave for the airport or whatever. But you actually, like you say, you do a better job because you don't go off doing things that are irrelevant. You don't go off like, oh, I better
oh
start
yeah.
reading this book from the beginning. You just like actually when I was putting myself down a little bit because when I was in IT, I was on the production support side versus the development side. We had no time to write fancy programs to get, to restore something from, 20 bits off the tape or whatever, and then test it and whatnot.
Yeah.
I would have to write it there and then, and in such a way that I'm protecting myself so that it fails or that it creates a log file immediately so that if something screws up, we can see what screwed up and what time and all that kind of stuff. And it was, and another DBA was sat next to me. So we're kind of doing our normal thing, and then boom, all the alerts, everybody's like, oh my God, the system's down and whatnot. And I'm like, right, okay. And I jump into action. And he kind of looked at me. Again, it was another observation. He goes, oh, you love this shit, don't you? And I was like, what? Do I? Oh yeah, I suppose I do. I'm like, this is what I'm here for. And I'm good at this. This is like, whoa. So yeah. And I think this is kind of one of my problems, by the way, is like when I'm building, when I want to chat with somebody's got a problem with their account or something, it's brand new and I don't even know what the business is. I'm like so excited to go in there and pile in and see what I can find quick as can. And then when I'm
Oh
when I'm
yeah.
building some campaigns and I've figured it out, and it's now a case of like squeezing getting the conversion rate up and getting more blood from a stone, I'm like bored. I'm bored. I should get someone else in to do that. I'm like on to the next completely brand new vertical of like forklift training. Who'd have thought? Oh yeah, that makes sense. A load of people have to do this to get the business is going to pay for people to do this and blah, blah, blah. Yeah, this could be a really interesting vertical. So I'm fascinated by it immediately. I've forgotten about locksmiths and plumbers and all these
Oh
other
yeah.
things. So that's kind of my Achilles heel, but you know what? I'm not going to try and change myself. I'm just going to lean into it and somehow figure out how to keep going in that stuff. In the verticals that I've kind of nailed it a bit for a couple of clients, but now they should really scale and get 100 clients in that vertical. And that probably is a case of me training up people with my tools and the way I work and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
I say probably because I'm finding I'm moving down this sort of SaaS route accidentally, which is why, like, yeah, I'm just trying to read your stuff again about the SaaS products. But it's the case that, okay, so we build AdWords campaigns for businesses, and often the pages we send them to on the website just aren't great. So they don't help to convert the visitor, and especially when we go really long tail and people are looking for a plumber in a really small location within Dublin or whatever, and they hit the page and they can't see that location. So we pass through the parameters and have dynamic headline and all that kind of stuff. So we started building landing pages for businesses, and we've done about 50 of them now, I think, all told. And I don't think what tickles me is we don't have a landing page to sell these from. We don't sell them from a website at all. We're selling website pages, but not from a website. So I find that funny. But over time, we're starting to, as you can imagine, my developer, who's coding up the pages, he's starting to get templates. We're starting to find things that work most of the time and all that kind of stuff. And so our procedures and processes are getting slicker at creating these. And I'm getting better at selling them because I can point to previous ones and results and stuff. And then over time, because I'm such my Achilles heel where I'm in every vertical I can get into, I can't say no to anybody. I'm actually starting to think of plugins that could work for any vertical or any page that will allow us to put dynamic headlines and a tap to call button, a SMS button, all that kind of stuff. So that's where I've suddenly, like maybe 2 weeks ago, went, oh my goodness, I might have an idea for a plugin, but it's literally from me and my guys engaging and doing things by hand and doing things that don't scale again and again and again and again and again. And I don't have a sales page. Like, I'm literally selling into clients they're already clients, the Google Ads clients. So we will, once we come up with a plugin, and we mentioned it a few of them, they were like, oh, that's a great idea, which is slight validation. We'll sell it. I want to even sell it in. I'll just implement it for free. We're going to do this for you for free,
Oh, nice.
And we'll get the data. It will work for them, hopefully. And if it doesn't, well, we keep tweaking it until it does, or it ends up not working and we kill it. And what's going to happen is, hopefully, for the same fee per month, they're going to get more conversions. So they're going to just stay longer. So the lifetime value will be higher, which is great. But then I've got 30 clients have installed this plugin and it works. So I can then start rolling it out to others. So that's kind of the plan. I know you're the SaaS man. I'm just sort of accidentally falling into it, or I've already got one foot in it and I didn't realize, kind of thing.
And that's a great way to do it. I know that you weren't at the summit or meetup that we had the last time, because I know you're in Ireland, obviously. But the presentation that I gave was, I forget the title of it, but it was something about, taking a SaaS to its first 5 figures monthly, that first step to get there. And a large part of my presentation, pretty much the overall general theme was having authority, or having, more importantly, domain authority. Domain meaning, your particular niche or industry or vertical. And, I pointed out that, authority doesn't mean that you're the smartest person about that topic, or that you're the top dog or most popular person about that topic. It just means that you know it well enough, better than the next person, or better than the lay person. And, basically, I took my authority that I had in the internet marketing industry, which was a lot of years in experience in SEO, a lot of years in experience in pay-per-click and just media buys and so forth. And I scratched my own itch, which is basically, it sounds like kind of what you're doing. You're building a product that you kind of thought of, that you kind of need, and then that product might end up becoming a SaaS product. That's the same thing that I did with a lot of my other SaaS products. Was they started out as something that I intimately knew, and had a lot of knowledge about. And then I found a personal need, and I took that personal need, didn't even validate it with other customers, didn't even talk to other people about, what they would like to see in it. I just built it for myself. And then I exploited it or just scaled it out for my need. And then later I decided to tell other people about it, and they liked it and they wanted in on it. And then that's basically how I started charging people monthly for all of my past products that I developed, including the one that I have now. Just to give you an example, I know that there's a couple of threads on the Fastlane forum about Quora and using Quora. And, I use Quora all the time. I even wrote a big, article about hacking Quora. And that basically came out of a need, again, for me to scratch my itch. I didn't ask anybody else, what their ideas or implementations would be. I just did it. I did something that did not scale. I did it by hand. Then I hired a VA to help me out with it. And then once I seen that this was something that worked and worked for me personally, now it's potentially going to be another software as a service type of idea. But I always stay within my domain authority, which is internet marketing and driving traffic. And I always do things that are scratching my own itch and things that I have authority over. So I think that's, a great way to do that, actually, because that's how I do a lot of what I do.
Yeah, okay. Scratch my own itch. I mean, I think I did create a post, and you did in the forum about, should we be scratching my own itch or my client's itch? I am scratching my own itch. It's such a pain for me to try and get profitable with clients running their Google Ads campaigns with their websites.
Yeah.
They're slow, don't look good on a mobile, don't have the call to action anywhere to be seen, all that kind of stuff. So my own itch is to get a page created for them, and then it's such a pain to create like the A record and all. Believe it or not, it's like one of our biggest problems is getting a subdomain created so we can put a page on it. So I'm like, right, install a plugin. That's how I'm going to scratch my own itch. But it's slightly different from scratch my own itch when I was talking to somebody else, and they were like, "Oh, see all those reports that you do. If you generated the reports, those reports, I would be able to use them." I'm like, yeah, but you're not my client. You're like another AdWords dude, another AdWords agency or something. Or somebody was saying, Andy, would you ever can't remember what he said, productize or come up with a product where you categorize all the keywords that you do in Excel that you showed us before? And it's like, not really. And it's because that would be scratching my own itch, like making a tool that I'd use all the time, make my life a bit easier. But I've done it what you've done. I've hired a VA to do a lot of the weekly reporting stuff of like taking stuff from AdWords and putting it into Google Sheet. And he's like, we could automate that. I'm like, I don't want it automated. I want someone to do it by hand, because then they have to log into the account and then it's my way of training them up. But if I was to create a tool to do that, then it would actually be serving a different client than my current client base. My current client base are like the plumbers and the locksmiths and the forklift driving training places and all that stuff, not other AdWords agencies. So I like scratching my own itch. I've got this thing, I haven't quite figured out how to describe it, but I'm trying to scratch my client's itch, my current client's itch, rather than build a tool that other AdWords guys would use, because that's completely different. I'm making money currently by helping, local service businesses and stuff, not by serving like AdWords guys. I could, I suppose, but then I haven't proven that model at all. And then what I find really fascinating is you just described my exact process for automating something, which is to go do it by hand until I've done it enough times that I've realized, hold on, I keep doing this. I need to actually list this as a process that I should document at least. Right, then finally document it and then give it over to somebody else to follow through. And I rarely have them actually can follow through the process the first time, because I've got some assumptions in there and I've not explained things properly. So me documenting a process and giving it to someone does not make it repeatable. They have to be able to go through it themselves. And then ideally someone else goes through it, never having heard from, any input from me. Then we've got a repeatable process. And then I'll try and possibly automate it. So that's what I used to do as an Oracle DBA. That was actually my speciality, was going to businesses and things were falling over and space was filling up and whatnot. And I'd have to fight fires by hand. And then eventually I'd tire of typing in the same commands all the time. So I just put it in a little script, and then I'd like make the script a lot nicer with version control and create a log file and error checking all exit codes, etc. And then eventually I'd hand it over to the help desk and they could run it, or it's automated actually from a cron job or something. So yeah, and I find it really funny that everybody wants to automate immediately. And it's like, I'm always, automate what? You haven't done anything. Yeah. Automate, how can you automate immediately? So they're all off building stuff. And it's great to hear it from you, because you're what I'd class as a proper developer. I was like hacking it, making stuff work, keeping it running kind of IT dude. Whereas you're a developer, but you still prefer to do it by hand, then hire someone else to do it, and then eventually create a product out of it, like a tool that runs.
Yeah, and I'll say this too. When I scratch my own itch, like I look at that as a global vision, because like I heard you break it down, as yours and then your clients. Well, that would kind of fit me too, because a lot of the things that I built did scratch my personal itch, but then sometimes I would be like talking to a client and they would say, well, I need this, or I would like to see this, or maybe I'm handling some support tickets and I see somebody complain about not having something, or wishing that we had something. Or maybe I'm just working, in an AdWords campaign, and this client wants to see a certain type of report, or that's a really bad one. Maybe they want to see some type of data that isn't an automated report in AdWords right now. And, maybe I'll go ahead and scratch that itch. To me, it's still my itch, because it impacts me personally at the very bottom, which is me getting my retainer or me getting my check. But yeah, I look at it globally. And so if it's anything that is definitely a need that I need, especially if it impacts my finances and me getting paid, either keeping that or getting more, or possibly saying, what, this will help me now, but I could see this potentially being a software as a service later. Maybe I'll go ahead and do it, even if it isn't my personal one. But I like to go in and actually build it myself, so that I completely understand how the function runs. And I've definitely worked with professional coders, and they'll come back to me and say, man, this is the worst code that I have ever seen. And I'm like, what do you mean? This code snippet, this script makes me $10,000 a month. What are you talking about? It's horrible, because it's a lot better than making $0. And then they always come back and say, well, you didn't document this, and this variable is out of scope, and just all kinds of other things. And I'm like, man, I code to make money. I don't code to, for you to come in and critique my code. So this is excellent code, because this funds my lifestyle or something,
Yeah.
But yeah, I love to do that, because I want to make sure it works. I want to make sure my idea gets validated after I code it. So I code it first all myself. And then before I even do that, it might be all manual. And then later, maybe once I've done this for 6 months or a year, and this has already made me hundreds of thousands of dollars, then I might hire somebody who's a true coder to go in and refactor all of it. So
yeah, exactly. True coder in air.
Always try to start off with that. Yeah.
Yeah, no, it's exactly the same. I wish I could do PHP or Perl or something. And I kept trying to learn it, but I was very good at Corn shell scripting. I could do everything I needed. Was I was on Solaris boxes or AIX or whatever.
Oh, yeah.
And if I was to write it in Perl, I suppose at the time, if I was writing in Perl, the other DBAs wouldn't have understood what I'd done, because all DBAs seem to be using the Corn shell for some reason. So I would just code everything in Corn shell, and I could get what I wanted done, sed or grep and all that kind of palaver. So I never got around to it. It would be great if I could, but at this moment in time, for me to go and learn that stuff, I would rather just hire my techie to do bits. And but that's something I had to learn was I had to do that for myself. Was like I could code up these websites, but actually that that was a great thing when I finally got in a guy full-time developer to do the pages for me because he got them done quicker, better, and loads of other stuff that he brought to the table I wouldn't have a clue about. It would have taken me years to, or if ever, to do what he did, and then getting a graphic designer in as well to help with the pages. All of a sudden, me and the developer were looking at him going, "Oh, wow, that's like really good, isn't it?" It's like when
Yeah.
he did the developer's version looked way better than what I could do, and then he brought this other thing, and we were just like, "Oh wow, yeah, that's proper. That's a proper graphic designer. I'm not going to touch graphic design anymore." So I have delegated some of the stuff, the coding, even though I know I could get into it. But the AdWords stuff, building the AdWords campaigns, I still haven't. I still don't know whether I should or shouldn't. That's something for me to figure out. I would rather grow my business by picking the right business model that allows me to scale using technology and processes than people. And I think it's possible. So that's why I'm still plugging away and haven't hired in, AdWords guys to do the builds because, like I said before, if it's those little, it's when something doesn't work is where you learn stuff. You said that when there's a support ticket comes through and something hasn't worked, that could be like the breakthrough where something doesn't work and you, hold on, why is that not working? And then you go and check something and you slice and dice the data or you spot this tiny little slither of something that isn't working how you thought. And actually that's the opportunity, you know?
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Really interesting. So like you have reminded me you've got quite a lot of really good threads in the forum, like that one about your personality and getting aligned. I'd completely forgotten about that one, but I completely subscribe to that. That's totally true. It took me 15 years of working in a cubicle doing operations management type stuff. Then later on realizing that's absolutely the wrong thing for me. And then what was the other one? Yeah, all your stuff about SaaS products because what is it? Are you on to your seventh now? Is that the title of it?
Yeah, and kind of in a way, I'm actually on my eighth. The seventh one is going to be delayed for a long time. So, the funny thing always about working in your area of authority, you always find these opportunities, and just by chance, I found an eighth opportunity. But yeah, it's I think it's ask me anything about SaaS. I'm building my seventh.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I asked, is it seven? Because I figured you might have more by now.
Yeah.
Because you're just going to spot them. I have a Trello board called Biz Ideas on Hold, and I just keep adding things to it. It's like, oh my goodness, why has this not happened? Or actually, I find I use bits of software that to help speed things up, and and I'm like, oh my God, this is brilliant. This is exactly what I wanted. And then within an hour, half an hour, I'm up against something that's really annoying me immediately. It's just, and I'm like, oh my God, I'd love to just ask my developer to go and change that, but I can't because it's not my products. So that goes on my list. Like, there really should be a thing to do X, Y, and Z. Um, yeah. And you, you mentioned Cora. I've never used Cora, but you, you put a little splinter in my mind by saying this wouldn't work for a PPC person. So I'm like, God damn it. I'm going to have to have a
Oh
go.
yeah, yeah. It's I tried to think about Quora and how I can manipulate it and scale it out. Not in a bad way, but just I've learned that if you do not make hay when the sun shines, or strike when the iron is hot, that you'll eventually lose your opportunity and you'll
Yeah.
lose your edge. So like as soon as I see something that's working for me, I'm like, I immediately have to get this. Even if it's a manual process that does not scale, I've got to get this working right now. And so I've sat around and thought about how can I use this more effectively? And it really came down to, the types of questions that people ask and what actually gets traffic. It's really hard because I thought, maybe I can contact this guy down the street who's a plumber and get him all kinds of leads. And I thought that's just not going to work on Quora the
Yeah.
way it's set up. And then I thought, well, how could I get leads, for more pay-per-click clients and higher education with it? And it's not going to work there either. So yeah, it definitely lends itself to a certain type of audience, where it would be fruitful. I know MJ and me talked for a little while about him using it potentially. I think he was trying to get people over to the Fastlane forum. There's some, I'm still not sure if that would be a great one for the forum, but there's lots of people who want to be successful and be entrepreneurs. It's just kind of hard that in that setup to gauge how impactful is this core traffic to something like a forum. But if it's something to a lead form or to something where you can sell something like with software as a service in the online marketing niche, there's definitely a raw number there, because I can look and say this many people from Quora hit our homepage, and then this many got into the funnel, and then this many actually checked out. And now that's X amount of recurring, revenue each month. So that's real easy to tag. But all these other things, they get really muddy. So I think it really hones into certain industries and certain products and services that are good.
Okay, I got it. Yeah, I think so. I got that now. Yeah. And so tell you what's funny, I feel almost embarrassed telling you. I'm normally like quite proud of this in a way, but I don't have a homepage and a funnel or anything. I don't even have a website effectively. My andyblack.net is just a redirect to my LinkedIn profile. Because
Yeah.
I was just what do I put on this? I have no idea what to put on it. So I just went, if you want to check me out, go check out LinkedIn is basically it. But
Well, now you do have your course still, right? Your Jumpstart course,
I
or maybe
do. Yeah, yeah. And that is on, all right. So that is actually very interesting for me because, right, I even created that. I just so didn't want to create a course because I want to focus on the done for you folks, the people where I build out. Like I want it. My vision is like having a kind of booking. Well, actually, I suppose like limos.com, but having a booking.com for whatever, for a particular vertical, funeral directors or something like that. And I like don't need to know about Andy Black. It's not a personal branded thing. Like I don't know who runs booking.com. He probably doesn't have a blog and he's too busy running this business. And it's a brand in the hotel space or travel space. So like I want to build a directory or a booking site, a thing, a brand in a particular vertical. But there's enough people in the forum just kept asking like little messages, Andy, do you have a course? I'm like, no. And then some poor lad said he went through every single one of my AdWords threads. So I think there's about 40 of them. And some of them get quite long now because they're quite old. And it took him, I think, 24 hours or something, like 4 days or 6 hours a day to go through them all. And I was like, that's wrong. That's not right. I need to create a little course, just an hour long that you can go through and just follow that instead of going reading all that stuff. So I created the course, dropped it in the forum, no promotion other than here it is. And it just started, people started buying it. I think maybe in 2.5 years, I suppose it's been running there, like 85 plus sales, 20 plus grand, 2 grand in 1 month of me not actually promoting it. So now I'm like, oh, hold on. Oh, no, that wasn't my aha forehead slap moment. My forehead slap moment was realizing that one of my clients, amongst all the things they're selling, one of them is a product, a digital course, and it's for $1,000 a month, and I'm helping to sell make 20 sales a month using Google Ads. So I'm using Google Ads to sell somebody's digital marketing course. I have a digital marketing course and I'm not using Google Ads to sell it. That was like, Andy, for heaven's sakes, you're an idiot. So that's where I should create a squeeze page, get people on. Okay, so what I've proven is for people who know, like, and trust me, they will buy a course. So I just have to get people who don't know, like, and trust me to know, like, and trust me, and then I put the course in front of them. Then that's a very maths way of solving problems. And I thought, well, the simplest way probably is sending Google Ads paid search traffic to a page and saying, hi, do you want to know some tips about Google Ads or whatever? Sign up to this email series. And I set up a 7-day thing. They do go through that and then I'll just take it from there. But knowing me, I would literally send people to a squeeze page and I'd not set up an autoresponder any welcome message, and if I get a actual email, somebody signing up, I would be all over it with a proper reply, physical. Oh, hi, you beat me to it. I haven't. Let me know, and I'd probably jump on a call with them if I could and have a
Yeah.
chat. That's what I would do. To do the things that don't scale, because then I'd start finding out. Oh, hold on, these folks are just students doing or whatever it is, and I'd start honing it, the campaign, and also I wouldn't want to create 7 emails and then find out I couldn't get anyone to sign up in the first place. That's kind of dumb. So I am
Okay.
going to go down that route. And the funny thing is, I put in like the requirement, I put my own Jumpstart PPC as a client into my little agency. I added it in on the list on my customer dashboard, and I put in the requirement for the landing page to get built, and it's been designed and it's in the queue to be built, and it keeps getting bumped to the bottom of the queue because we keep working on client ones, and
Yeah.
I'm like, okay, just drop me to the bottom again, and that's something I've got to change. I'm observing that this has happened for the last 4 weeks. I just keep getting bumped to the bottom. So
Wow. Yeah. Well, it happens. Yeah.
yeah, I'll get round to it, but that's going to be that's going to be really interesting. And then also like a little paid email newsletter I've got, which I quite enjoy. I just write to it, and I like the fact because it's paid, even though it's only $9 a month. I'm not trying to sell anything. I can just write stuff, and there's no sale. It's not, because you're already paying for it. So
Exactly. Yeah.
I quite like that. If I can figure out how to grow that using Google Ads, and I'm the person writing the content, then great. Then I can figure out how to do it where somebody else writes the content, and then holy smoke, I might have a little thing there. Either a service or something could come out of that. And again, that's one of the ones where I've found it really hard to find tools that create paid email newsletters. You've got
Yeah.
to cobble together like SendOwl with MailChimp or something or other and something else, and it's not what your average person wants to do, I suppose. So there we go. I'll get there eventually, but I think I'm probably behind you in that I'm spending too much of my time working on client projects and not enough on my own kind of things where I'm running campaigns for myself, if you know what I mean.
Yeah. Well, it's whatever ends up fitting you best. It might work out to where you enjoy clients, because I've heard you say, well, not say, but written on the forum where you say you love learning about these other businesses
Yeah, I do.
and how they run. And if that's true, which everything's true to a certain point, though, that might be your thing, that you love learning about these businesses and that you love talking to these people, especially if in communities and maybe, talking to them weekly. Me, myself, not that I hate it. It's not that I hate learning more about my client, because that'd be a horrible thing to say. But I'm kind of more interested just in myself, as greedy or as selfish as that sounds, maybe. I love to work on my own projects. If there's something that takes time away from me working on something that I want to work on, that's kind of where my feeling of dread is. Those tend to be the projects that I procrastinate even more on than normal. So it might work out to where your thing, or what really gets you jobbed up and really motivated, might be these other people's projects instead of your own, which it's always good to have your own projects, but maybe that natural inclination is that maybe you like working on the client side more. Whereas, as much as I like client work, it's also probably the projects I dread the most, because I don't enjoy talking to other people. And which is funny because I'm talking to you, so I don't mean that between me and you, obviously. But like I really crave just doing the things that only I want to do. And I'm sure there's lots of people that'll say, hey, I like that too. But like, if it came down to me coding some stuff for a project that I'm personally interested in and that I want to work on, As soon as I wake up, I'm going to spend 9 hours on that if I can, and then I'll devote 1 hour to whatever this other project is that helps benefit somebody else. Like if it's AdWords, or if it's another type of project. But um, that's kind of how I look at it. Like maybe the reason why yours keeps getting bumped down is yes, you've got these clients and you've got these deadlines and you want to be respectful of that, but it could be maybe internally too, you possibly like doing those other projects more than maybe building a page for yourself. Like I've met people who if they do a project for themselves, like they just hate it because they tell themselves, oh, I'm not good enough and I don't know how to write this page for me, or now that I've wrote this copy, it sounds so gibberish, but yet they never do that on their clients' projects. So I don't know if maybe that's food for thought.
No, it is definitely food for thought. It is food for thought. I've got to figure out. I actually think at the moment it's just literally there's just too many client things that we just promised, so I'm at the bottom.
Yeah.
But I just so want to run some campaigns and apply my own skill set to my own thing. Like so,
Yeah.
what's really funny for me is that hold on, I think it was in the forum maybe or somewhere else where people said, Andy, you need to be running Google Ads if you're a Google Ads guy. That's how you should be getting.
Oh,
I
yeah.
was like, yeah, right. No, what? I knew to say no. Go away with that. Take that need away, please, because like I haven't run a single Google Ads campaign for my own business. I literally get all my business from. I think I've listened to one of your podcasts where you become a domain authority by just chatting about it, by dropping a bit of nuggets about it, but just being a normal dude, like in
Yeah.
the forum or something. And there we go. That's how, and not just forums, like local workshops or whatever, meeting business owners and diesel and coffee. That's my big thing. I like meeting people, chatting to them, having a coffee, or maybe doing it over Skype like we're doing now, having a chat. That's kind of what I air towards. You're right. I do air towards that. But then I'm also that geek who like, right, enough of that. I've done enough of that today. I need to go and dive into Excel and fiddle around and have a look at this data and do stuff. So I'm kind of a bit mixed up there. I've got to figure that stuff out. Um, and but I do like this part. I'm going to not put in the forum or whatever. But I did work for a company and we spent 120K a day. That was like a team of 35 AdWords specialists, and it was PPC arbitrage. The kind of like the Ask search engine, where
Oh, yeah.
they're buying visitors from Google to Ask, and it's AdSense ads, and making 150K a day. And Google doesn't particularly like it, but as long as you adhere to the rules, you're all right. And I saw some last night even. Some of these ads are still running at the bottom of the page because they can't afford to pay anymore because their EPCs are so low. And I'm like, if I had one of those built, I'll put that on my list again. If I got my developer to build me like a little meta search engine that I can put ads at the top that were related to, I put a queue string, pull back and become
Yeah.
a search partner effectively with Google or something. I could make that work because that's what we did. I was the analyst in a big team, like 1 million clicks a day. That's what we did, and that's where going massive long tail campaigns helps, because those guys, because their EPC is so low, they have to get volume at low CPC, and they had to have a good click-through rate on the ad and all. Right, so that's where you have like 40,000 locations in the US plus car hire, because the actual car hire companies won't drill down that far, but you do. You have to go lower than them. So part of me is like, oh God, I need to have this set up so I can do it myself. And yes, I like talking to people, but when sometimes the clients, so it's kind of annoying when like the
Oh, yeah.
CEO's wife didn't like the color of the landing page. You're like, what? Please shoot me. So it's a mixture. I'm forever grateful for my team because they kind of keep me sane when I get like a bit frustrated about stuff. They're like, yeah, Andy, no, it's just this, it's blah 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 blah. But having my own little products, it's great. What I
Yeah.
am allergic to though is that whole guru-ness. I hate it with a passion. And somebody was suggesting the other day, Andy, you could do one of them webinar things that are like evergreen, no, automated webinars. I'm like, I will never in my life do one of them. Don't care how much money it makes. It just annoys me. those
Yeah.
sign up and it will, oh, you're in luck. There's another one starting in 20 minutes. It's like,
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
yeah, right. Listen, it's been a really interesting chat with you. I hope we've got, like, I'm sure there's parts of this where the sound went a bit funny, but I'm sure there's parts we can just pull out that I think were really interesting for other people. Um, and yeah, let's just keep in touch anyway. Um, because I might pick your brains on some of the SaaS typey things I'm doing. I'll do it in your thread anyway, and then you're chewing the same kind of turf as me in some ways.
Sure.
Good.
Reach out when you have questions. Either on, well, I have Zoom because I have to talk to other people on Zoom. So, we can trade Zoom, or we can just keep in contact on the forum. It doesn't matter to me. But yeah, reach out when you have questions, and we can keep talking. As much as you want, for other things too.
Yeah, that'd be great. That'd be great. Look, I really appreciate your time, and it was good to finally meet you. And
Sure.
yeah,
Same
I
back
think
at you, man.
we're
Thanks.
kind of two peas in the same pod, but
Oh
also
yeah, yeah.
but also different. That's what's really interesting.
Well, I was disappointed when I came to the forum, because I was like, man, I'm going to come in here and I'm going to like specialize in something. So I'm going to pick AdWords. And then I get in there and like, you're the AdWords guy. So I was like, damn, there's no way that I can go ahead and compete with that. So I did that pay-per-click paid advertising thread.
Yeah.
Then I was like, maybe I can be the SaaS guy instead. So then I started all that SaaS stuff. But then I got really jealous, because I think when I came on, you hadn't been a moderator yet. So I think you became a moderator after I joined
Right.
sometime. But I got jealous because you've got the largest signature in the forum, and I was like, I want to like put a bunch of links in mine too, but I'm limited to 4. But Andy has like 20 of these links in his signature. So
Oh
yeah.
man, you know why I have those? It's because when I'm messaging people or I'm replying, I just say, it's tiring now to try and find them because I have to go
Oh
to
yeah.
Google. I'm like, go and find the XYZ link in my signature. Go find the this and the. It's because I keep pointing people to them, and you've just reminded me of that something. And um, I've got what over 7,500 posts in 5 years, and like it's ridiculous if you think
Oh
about it.
yeah.
It's actually ridiculous, but it's obviously the thing I can't not do. It's almost my superpower that I could just churn out content every freaking day, and almost that's probably the thing that I err towards more than anything else. But like when I created my own forum and a Facebook group, I hated it. Absolutely hated it. It's like popping into someone else's forum, answering stuff, and then buggering off again. I'm fine with that. Having it being mine, I don't know. There's just a really weird dynamic about it. And then I'm also like, I'm at I'm at the beck and call of people in my paid forum now. And I don't
Oh
like that. I didn't like that at all. It's like, you paid 300 quid for a year and I'm at your beck and call. My clients are paying like 300 minimum, or 1,500 a month, whatever. And you're asking me all these questions and I'm giving away stuff that I'm not going to tell my clients. So and I shut it down. It was the best thing I did. I felt total relief. And I'm able to just focus on chattering away in, I think, Rob O'Rourke's Fox's Facebook group every now and then the Fastlane Forum. And every year, every month even, I love the Fastlane Forum more. I just think it's brilliant. I love it.
yeah.
And then on the inside, they have like MJ and Alan Crawley had a call recently. I just listened to it traveling
Yeah.
yesterday on the
Yeah.
air.
Powder School. Yeah.
It was really good. I enjoyed it. It was just like a couple of guys having a chat. So yeah, all right, that's you jealous. I was completely shocked when I got made a moderator. It's like, what? Why would you? And then I looked at all the reasons, and it was bugger all to do with AdWords. It's nothing to do with that. I was like, wow. So
Yeah.
that skill set I've got, that's not why people really do business with me. I've got a skill set, but hold on, there's another post brewing now, isn't there? Be the person, somebody told me once, be the kind of person people want to buy from, which I think
Yeah.
is really good advice. But yeah, you could have been the AdWords guy, but you're the
Oh
SaaS
man.
guy. The SaaS, look, people are more interested in SaaS than AdWords. It's like, I had this conversation with Lex, Lex DeVille,
Yeah.
copywriting dude. So he's the copywriting guy. You're the SaaS guy, and actually your big, massive gold thread about bloody all paid advertising. I was like, what? How can you know all this about everything? Was my response looking at it. He's like, holy shit. I messaged him. I was like, I can't find it again, but you can find which of your threads has the most views. And I've got maybe 200, 300 threads, some of them pretty beast, And I was like, Lex, guess what? Which of my threads has the most views? And he's like, oh, I don't know. Maybe it's this one or that one. I'm like, no, it's the one called Adventures of an Instagram Newbie. Like, holy shit, I hate Instagram. I went on and I'm never going on again. I hate it. And that's got the most views. It's really, really disappointing and upsetting. But there you go. So if you know Instagram, you can be the Instagram guy as well. Yeah. Right. I'm going to let you go. It's been a pleasure.
All right. Thanks, Andy.
We'll catch up again sometime. All right.
Bye-bye.